Welcome to the Side Hustle to Small Business podcast, powered by Hiscox. I'm your host, Sanjay Parekh. Throughout my career, I've had side hustles, some of which have turned into real businesses. But first and foremost, I'm a serial technology entrepreneur. In the creator space, we hear plenty of advice on how to hustle harder and why you can sleep when you're dead. On this show, we ask new questions in hopes of getting new answers. Questions like, how can small businesses work smarter? How do you achieve balance between work and family? How can we redefine success in our businesses so that we don't burn out after year 3? Every week, I sit down with business founders at various stages of their side hustle to small business journey. These entrepreneurs are pushing the envelope while keeping their values. Keep listening for conversation, context, and camaraderie. Today's guest is Josh Blakeley, the founder of Landscape and Hardscape Contractor Marketing, a marketing firm focused on helping landscapers and contractors. Josh, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Sanjay. Thanks for having me on the show.
So I'm excited to have you on because I think you've got actually a very interesting, unique story that we're going to delve into here in a minute. But before we get going into all of that stuff, give us a little bit about your background and what got you to where you are today.
Thanks for having me on the Side Hustle to Small Business podcast here. And obviously that is the story I wanted to dive into here. But if you haven't picked it up already, I have an accent. So I'm originally from Brisbane, Australia. I moved to the US about 6 years ago now. Moved to San Diego, which is where I still am. And that really kind of kickstarted my journey into creating the side hustle, which is, now my full-time small business role. But I had worked as a high school teacher for quite a while. So this initial move here was like the sabbatical, which then led into the business that we have today.
Well, there's so many interesting parts of this, right? So there's first high school teacher into marketer, but then also a move from halfway around the world almost to the US. Like there's so many different challenges here. So let's start with the high school piece of it. Is this your first time doing something entrepreneurial? Because I guess a high school teacher, you have to be somewhat entrepreneurial because you're dealing with kids. But is this the first time you've done something entrepreneurial like this?
No, there's a couple of things. So, I pretty much went straight into university out of high school, studying education, starting to be a high school teacher. And then I would say probably, 6 or 7 years down that pathway, I just had this itch, and entrepreneurs talk about sometimes this itch to do things, but I hadn't really seen or invested or, really learned about what it's like to run a business, to be an entrepreneur. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I know that's a book that kickstarted a lot of people, but that's the first book I remember reading, getting me to think about the quadrants. So from there, I started looking at, okay, how else can I be building wealth, providing for the future and things like that, and started to learn about real estate. So that was my first step, really learning how to grow wealth that way. But it was still kind of passive. I was partnering with people doing some small developments, but I was still working full time, and that was my role in those partnerships is having the borrowing capacity for bank loans and capital raising and things like that. But I still wanted to really find a business that would be a cash flow business. So that was the kind of initial step there.
Yeah. So what was the kind of the motivation and drive then to leave Australia and come to the US?
Yeah, look, I had some friends who'd moved to the US probably about 12 years before that, and had visited the US before, really, really loved it. But I was just at a point where, okay, like I want to do something else. And I'd been working on another business, like a coaching consulting business in like the money management space. But I still was like, okay, now how do I take this and grow it? So I actually came to the US on a sabbatical, and half-pay sabbatical. And this is the great thing about, I'd been teaching for like 10 years at that point. So that was an option because I was teaching in the public system in Australia, and they allow you to take like paid leave. And so I had enough leave built up to do 6 months half pay, which is enough, to live and survive and do all of that, which then turned into me finding a job in the US teaching as well, which was, you need a visa, you need a visa to stay here and do all those types of things. So that was a stepping point here and actually moving my life over.
Yeah. So, okay. So you went from teaching to teaching in different countries. At what point did starting your own business kind of come into the picture?
It was pretty soon into that. It was probably four months into that teaching, and someone who was really great at running Facebook ads at the time must have had their targeting dialed in about the pages I liked and browser history and things like that. And it was actually a Facebook ad about learning how to do digital marketing, and followed the steps. I jumped on a sales call with this guy who was coincidentally in Australia. He was living in Australia, even though I was in the US and I was on that time zone. So I got talking to him, and it was like a 2-hour phone call. Like I really made him work for the sale, but he sold me into this program of learning how to do digital marketing. And then from there started down that track, and had some clients within a month or two, was getting clients results, was doing that. I'm like, oh, this actually works. And that was the side hustle component. Now I'm getting paid to do the side hustle. And so that was the very beginning stages, proof of concept.
Yeah. How long, at what point did you decide to go all in and say like, okay, this is no longer a side hustle. This is my full-time gig?
So I'd say it was about 2 years in. 2 years in from starting learning that course is when I went full-time in the business. So in the meantime, I was working. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask, why did it take that long? Maybe that doesn't seem that long. I guess it's all perspective. Was there like something that made you nervous about making that leap into a full-time gig?
I just wanted to make sure like the income was well and truly replaced, and also had that security, as well. I mean, in marketing, you can set things up to be project-based, where you're only getting paid when the work comes in, or you can set up retainer models where you're always providing some service or some value per month, and that's obviously a lot more secure there because you have that in place. It's recurring revenue. Generally what's coming in. So I really wanted to get to that point where that was their security and building that up. So in the meantime, I was growing out on the side while I was teaching.
Yeah. So at kind of what point during this journey did you decide, hey, I need to really kind of focus in on my niche? Like from the very beginning, were you doing landscape and hardscape contractors, or did this happen some point along the journey?
It wasn't something that happened straight away, though. From the pretty beginning stages, we were targeting contractors in general, home service businesses, and landscape contractors were part of that. So kind of early on, I got to experience some of these different industries. And then, a few years into running the business there, was seeing some great success with other marketing agencies focusing on a niche, and also trainings. We joined a mastermind, a training that specifically teaches you that method of doing it. And then in that mastermind, you have all these other people who are running marketing agencies specific to their industry, to their niche. And there's a lot of added benefits and opportunities that come with being niche focused. So that was it. We had a few niches that we had experience in to look at and decide where we wanted to go. And ultimately we picked the landscape outdoor living niche. Was there a process as to why you decided this niche versus
Anything else?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, some of the key things were we'd already gotten results for clients in that industry. So we had I had an understanding of it. Our team had an understanding of it. It's a big industry. It's not so tiny that you can't have too much of a reach of that. There's hundreds of thousands of landscape companies just in the US. So lot of businesses to work with, and then just other things too. We're seeing it was a growing industry. I mean, COVID had happened, interest rates had gone up, so people were tending to spend a little bit more on home improvements rather than buying and selling homes. So again, there's an opportunity there because then our clients have got people looking for their services, and our job then is to make sure that our clients are getting seen. So those are some of the kind of really core factors that went into it. And it's a cool industry. Like, you get to see really beautifully designed spaces, and then there's the follow-on emotional impact of that people get to spend time with their loved ones and friends and family in those spaces. So it kind of draws in that benefit there that our clients are giving their customers, but we get to be a part of that, and that's really fun.
Yeah. Is there something like with landscapers and hardscapers that, in terms of marketing, you have to view it differently than if it was some other field that you were working with?
There's a couple of things. It's a very visual industry, so you've got to be putting your work out there, and that in itself is a type of testimonial. Even better if those companies can get their customers leaving reviews and video testimonials there too. But you've designed and built these incredible spaces. So, someone just repairing, let's take HVAC as another instance, repairing an air conditioning unit. It's not that It's not that flashy. People don't tend to want to see that, but people do want to see, incredible outdoor spaces. So that came into it there, and we have a whole host of strategies that we use for making sure we get that out there for our clients. But that's a fun part. That's a fun part and a key strategy for our clients.
Yeah. One thing that strikes me, some of the clients that you probably serve are kind of small and medium-sized contractors, and like historically, like, you think about them, and margins are probably very tight, right? Like, it's a very kind of cost competitive marketplace. And so how do you think about and how do you kind of pitch to these folks that your help, something that's going to cost them money, is going to make them money in the long run?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. The core thing costs is those clients or prospects, in that case, if they're not a client yet, need to be able to view it as an investment. It's not a cost. An investment, you should be getting a return on what you're spending. So we have our growth programs, our process for doing that, where we can see, hey, here's the type of strategies that get a return on investment for our other clients. Here's the areas they're in. Here's the services that we're providing. So that's a core part of it. We're not the right fit for everyone with our programs too. But what I do put out there is I make sure we've got content out there for people to follow along with, even as a starting point. Just some strategies they can implement themselves, and then when they're ready, when they come to that point where they're like, okay, no, it's time to be working on the business instead of working in the business, we need to hire someone who's a professional at that to do so. And look, there are really cheap marketing options, but cheap is rarely the best option. So I could deep dive into it, but I'll just leave it at that. But that's kind of how we approach that.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, let's talk about this book that you authored. You did a book, and I think that's interesting. What kind of motivated you to write a book, and what was kind of the goal in doing this? And, well, secondary question, how did you set, we're all busy, right? Like, how did you set this time aside to be able to get this done?
Yeah. So the book is called Backyard Empire. I have a copy here. Am I allowed to hold up the book?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. There is put into frame, Backyard Empire. So the ultimate digital marketing guide for outdoor living pros. A couple of core strategies for that. It's again a really great way to give something of value to someone with a proven framework there. So giving that book to someone or having that book out there straight away kind of solidifies what we're doing and helps us build that industry recognition. And as I touched on earlier, there's masterminds, there's programs that teach you to do this, and when the book is out there, you're going to have opportunities come your way for your business. And this is really anyone in any business area, the proven results are there for people who write a book. Is now you can be led into other opportunities to speak. There's authority there. All of those kind of things come along with it. So I know that was part of your question, is like, why did we do it? The how, it was just time blocking was the big thing. It took about 2 or 3 months, just blocking out at least an hour of the day. I started with the mornings. The most important thing I needed to get done that day was just writing the book, editing the book, doing those types of things. And then, I was following a framework for that helped incredibly. And then it was done. And then getting the cover design was the other part to it. But it's done now, and I felt incredible. So it came out earlier this year. It came out, I think, April this year.
Yeah. Was there thinking about the book process, what was the most fun part of doing that, and what was the most painful part of doing that?
The fun part, seeing when it's finished, is really fun. I'm like, oh, okay, like there's a thickness, tangible feeling to holding this book. That's the best part. The least fun part was, editing is not that much fun, but I did have an editor help me, and right around the time of writing this book is when AI tools have just been getting better and better this whole time. Using those tools, like I used to use Google Gemini a lot through the editing process, and pasting in this section. Okay, here's what we've covered. What is acting as a professional editor? What else should we include? And that was one of the really common prompts in there, or what graphics should we use? And it was great. And I'm sure it's even better now, but it will actually tell you, hey, you should put in a graph demonstrating this. I'm like, oh, that's great. Let's get on that. So it really helped flesh out things with that AI feedback with that there too. But
Is there been, in terms of having now the book out, has there been something that surprised you that's happened solely because you've got a book versus what was happening before?
Being able to gift it to, we're a part of a few different landscape associations. Telling someone, hey, we're going to ship you some books. Like, people are really grateful and thankful for that. Like, I didn't think people would care that much, but that's been a good part there too. And it's now opened up some doors for interviews and speaking opportunities now that were probably made easier, just having that book out there as well.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, let's change gears a little bit, and let's talk about kind of the balance and stress of running a business and family life and personal things and all that. How do you think about that for yourself? How do you balance your time to make sure that you're able to spend time with family, friends, and everything personal?
Yeah, that's a good concept, the work-life balance. And in recent years, I've heard people talk about more of this work-life integration. I think you can't really integrate the work-life integration too well when you're still working a full-time job. So I think that is the challenge side of things there too. But to get something from a side hustle into a business, you do need to be very focused and goal orientated around what you need to do, because if you're working your other job, you've only got so many hours in the day. And for me, particularly in those early days, was setting aside time in the afternoon and know, okay, I've got like a 2-hour window here, and I got to get these things done. We've got to start putting this information into place in the business. And, part of that is learning and getting courses or coaching, whatever you're doing there too, to help you focus on that too. But then you've got to do the work as well. So it's really prioritizing those other sections of your life, which aren't set in stone usually, which is going to be your job, as well as prioritizing time for family. So you've got to find what those priorities are and detail that out.
Yeah. Do you have to worry about like boundaries between work and personal? Like I'm thinking about like landscaping companies, like in the evenings, like they're probably not calling you up for marketing help randomly, right? Like might happen in some other business, or maybe they do. I don't know. So do you have to think about those boundaries between personal and work?
Yeah. Early days, when did have a couple of clients in Australia, trying to do that on Pacific Coast time, here in the US. That was a challenge, but then, sometimes you have to say no to things just to really streamline what you're doing. So at that point, really just decided, no, we're just going to be US focused. And the interesting thing with landscape contractors is usually good times. It depends on how they're running their business, but if they're like stuck in running, doing everything in their business, usually they're not going to be able to speak to you until after 5 p.m. Where that works for us, though, is for anyone not in Pacific Coast time, because it's still out. If you call it the 9 to 5 workday for us, myself and my team, we're working the 9 to 5 business hours, in terms of where we have client face-to-face contact. But that's fine for East Coast, because they might be happy to do the call at 7 p.m. their time, and it's only 4 p.m. our time. So that's kind of obviously unique to a business that doesn't is not local time zone specific.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you tend to then start the day later so that you can deal with your West Coast clients after hours as well, or do you stick to the 9 to 5?
Not usually. For West Coast clients, they just have to fit it into the business day that way. And look, if it's if you're investing into something and you actually are really committed to doing it as a partnership, you're going to make time for it. And if you don't have time to do it, that's a sign something's got to change in your business, and that's a lesson, a growth moment to learn for those businesses that I've had to learn. I've had to learn the same. So
absolutely, yeah. So let me ask you about exercise routine. Do you have an exercise routine? And the one that sticks out to me the most is, do you mow your own lawn, or do you have somebody do it for you?
Fortunately, here in the US, I used to in Australia, but here in the US, I don't live in a property where we have a lawn that needs taken care of.
So no landscaping for you then.
Not that I need to do personally, no. And when I have lived here, before I was married and I was living with a few guys, a bachelor house, we paid a landscaper to come in. So
yeah.
They
so
that.
What about otherwise then? Exercise routine, is that a thing for you? How do you work it in?
Yeah. Exercise, really important. I just have those times blocked into my calendar. So at different times along this journey, it's changed, whether it's first thing or the morning. Right now, it's regular 3 times a week is set gym times, and usually those are early-ish mornings for myself. But I have a friend I work with who did personal training, physical therapy, massage therapy. They have a facility. I go there for lots. Besides the gym, we also do those things there too. So core thing there, just put it on the calendar. Is that time, those times are set in stone, and I know I've got to be there too. And then outside of that, usually it's walking, just getting out, fresh air, and that's where I can do that with my wife and my son. And fortunately, here in San Diego, there's tons of great places we can do that at. But that's more of an informal kind of stretch your legs, get some fresh air type of exercise.
Yeah. What about, you mentioned having a kid. What about sleep and wellness? How does that fit into your routine? Are you regimented about going to bed on a certain time, or not possible?
Yeah. Pretty set on that. Set times. I mean, I've never been one who can just pull the all-nighter, keep working type of thing, really, because then I'm wrecked the next day. So
I'm right there with you.
Yeah. I mean, really, just set times, aiming for 7 hours of sleep a night is tends to be my average, and I usually am pretty out once I go to sleep. Though right now, boy is just turned 1, so I've had to go through that sleep adjustment journey. But you do adjust to it as a parent. You just adjust to it, and again, it's like, okay, where are my priorities going to be at? Like, if means going to bed earlier because I know I'll have some broken sleep, then we'll do that. Yeah.
It gets better though. I will tell you that.
Yeah.
Okay. Last couple of questions for you, Josh. Thinking back on kind of like your journey over the business, like if you could go back in time and do something differently now that you know what you know now, obviously the outcome would be different because you're changing your past or your history, but just knowing what you know now, is there something that stands out to you like, oh, I wish I'd known I would have done this differently back then?
I would say one of the things is I would tell myself, like, make sure you're outreaching and speaking to more people. And we've had the industry specific now. If we'd have picked the industry specific earlier on, that would have helped that too. But don't be afraid to start conversations with people who you look up to, or who are further ahead than you, and you can see the success that they're having. You can do that in your industry and in a pathway you're following, or it can be related industry as well. But the power of relationships and the power of networking with people authentically, whether you're doing it online or you go into in-person meetings, one conversation, one meeting, one opportunity can completely change how you run your business, or it could be a partnership joint venture that comes out of that, or a referral recommendation. And getting in with those relationships is the way it's going to lead to that. So that'd be the main thing.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, last question for you, Josh. If you were talking to somebody who's thinking about doing like what you did, and launching a side hustle or turning that side hustle into a full-time business, what advice would you give to them?
I think you really need to look at your personal finances, your personal spending, and see, okay, what is it that I need to survive? What am I comfortable with? Who am I providing for? If it's just you that you're providing for, that's a lot easier. But really take a financial check and then use that as a goal setting exercise, that in your side hustle, looking, okay, how much do I need to sell, or how many clients do I need? All those types of things to really work out, okay, what is the point when this business will replace the side hustle? And working backwards from that end goal is going to give you clarity, and also give you a drive to want to reach that goal. But then you can make smart decisions when you actually know the numbers behind it.
Yeah, I love that. Josh, this has been fantastic. Where can our listeners find and connect with you online?
Thank you, Sanjay, for having me. So Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. We have a YouTube channel specifically for the industry where we're regularly putting content up there. We have a podcast on there as well. But Landscape and Hardscape Contractor Marketing, Josh Blakeley. If you search any of those, that'll take you through to our different profiles there. And please connect with me. LinkedIn is usually the best way to connect with me personally. And then if you wanted to take a look at marketing strategies and podcast interview side of things, go to our YouTube channel and subscribe like that, and you'll be kept updated.
There you go. Thanks so much, Josh.
Yeah. Thank you, Sanjay.
Thanks Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Side Hustle to Small Business podcast powered by Hiscox. To learn more about how Hiscox can help protect your small business through intelligent insurance solutions, visit hiscox.com. That's HISCOX.com. And if you have a story you want to hear on this podcast, please visit hiscox.com/share your story. I'm your host, Sanjay Parikh. You can find out more about me at my website, sanjayparikh.com.